Hi, everybody, and welcome back to my weekly vlog. It's Thursday. I fixed the issue with my tablet. So I tried saving the video as high efficiency video compression or HEVC or HEVC or HVEC, but it didn't work because while the audio stayed, the image was gone. And I apologize for the traffic. It is like 10 something at night. Wait, hold on. Where's my phone? It's quarter after 10 at night, and the traffic sounds like it's 2 o'clock in the after fucking noon. So it's great. It's just fucking wonderful. But anyway, welcome to my weekly vlog. This would be week 3. I promise if I ever get a better internet connection, I will go back to daily vlogs. Because I actually kind of like that idea. I think the daily vlog works a lot better than the weekly vlog does, but you know what? I don't mind doing a weekly vlog. It's fine. I mean, I put up a weekly video game. Um, anyway, so a weekly vlog post. What the hell? I do some other fun stuff in store, so there is that. But this week, I want to talk about fear. So, a lot of people will look at me and they'll go, okay, so because you're transgender, you obviously have no fear. You've gone out in public as a woman, so you obviously have no fear or repercussions or stuff like that. And the thing is, I do have fear. I get scared like everybody else. And that's the thing. Fear isn't something that is just there, it doesn't just appear because of an instance, it's always there. It's that innate voice in our head that tells us that something might not be a good idea. It's your fear. You're scared of it. I have been scared about a lot of things. I'm still terrified of heights. And I honestly am. When I used to work retail, if I had to go into the back and go up into the loft, I would freeze up trying to come down because I hate heights with a passion. I hate them so much. So I would tense up until I could get back down on the ground. Then my pulse is racing, my heart's beating faster, my hands are becoming very clammy, and that is something that I went through every single time I had to climb up into the loft. So for me, fear is and always will be something that will stop me from doing something that I know is terrifying to me. However, there are other fears to deal with in this world, and I have gone through a bunch of them just this year alone. I've gone through a lot. There's the fear of the unknown. There's the fear of losing everything, the fear of opening up, and so on and so forth down the line. The thing with fear, though, is that while it's technically useful in that it'll save us from doing something that we know could be extremely dangerous, at the same time, it is a double edged sword. Now, I'm not saying that you should go out and try to, bungee jump off of a moving semi truck or something because that's what you're afraid of, and I'm telling you, fight your fear. First off, don't ever do that. That's stupid. You'll be killed. I mostly mean by there are fears that we can control. So, and I'm going to use um, some recent example with me as a prime example. So, as a lot of you know, I told my friend how I felt about her. I was scared to do that. And the reason why I was scared is because I had gone down this road before. I had told a classmate of mine back in high school how I felt. And her and I got along really well. And after I told her that, even though we still talked for a while, it got awkward to the point that we just eventually had to stop talking. Even afterwards, after I graduated and after everything and I caught up with her again, there was still that awkwardness. I mean, we would talk every Friday and we just enjoyed each other's company. The downside, though, as with a lot of things, was that eventually you'll either hate what you've become, or you will see yourself as something that you will hate. And with me, it was sort of the opposite. It became too awkward to talk with her because she knew how I felt. I knew how she felt. There was nothing that either of us could have said that would have changed the other's feelings. And I said, I'm like, this will just be easier if I just stop talking to you and just move on with my life. And it was terrifying for me to say that because, for one, I got along with her really well. We had a lot in common. We talked about a lot. And I don't just mean, oh, we liked anime. No, she didn't even watch anime. We just talked. That was it. Half the conversations I couldn't even remember to tell you, but we just talked. That was it. That's all we did was talk. Then, when I stopped talking with her entirely, I felt a lot different. Like, there was an extra weight taken off of me, but at the same time, there was a hollowness in my heart. Because now I didn't have that person to talk to. So I had a new fear. The fear of, did I do the right thing? And that was the fear I had back then. Nowadays, okay, yes, I know I did the right thing. Nowadays, like, hindsight, as they always say, is 2020, and in this case, yeah, it's 2020. It's freaking 40/20. Trust me, it's very, very good hindsight at this point. But when you open up to somebody and you're scared about it, that fear can manifest itself in how you come off, like your body language. If you're trying to talk to them in person, in your writing, if it's a message, it can come off as, I'm skittish. I don't know what I want. I'm terrified of you. Something about you is scary to me. But yet, here's the thing, you need to take the leap of faith. Cliche as hell, I know. Trust me. You're preaching to the choir on this one. But hear me out. It's cliche, but in a good way. You won't know anything unless you try. I wouldn't have known how things would have gone with my friend until I tried. Granted, a more current example is just piss poor timing, but back in high school, it wasn't. The situation was a little more controlled. Granted, again, by a little more controlled. Okay, it's a similar situation, actually. Pretty much almost identical situation, actually, but it was a little more controlled. See, in this case, I could talk to her physically. In the case with my other friend recently, we've never met IRL. We've only ever talked in cyberspace. So, in all honesty, I had to think about that when I weighed my decision, what I talked about last week. I had to weigh that decision in my head. And at the end of the day, it does make a lot more sense if the pros and the cons are slightly askewed. I always have been and always will be a fan of the yin yang philosophy. For every good thing that has to happen in your life, something bad has to happen to balance the equation. One cannot exist without the other. In this case, even though I told my friend how I felt about her, I had to realize that there were way more negatives than there were positives. The scale was way out of balance, and nothing would have changed that. With my friend in high school, it was the same thing. While, yes, we got along and we talked and we interacted, that didn't mean that we were compatible. There were signs that I didn't see. And looking back at it now, it makes a lot more sense. And it's just weird stuff like that. Now, don't get me wrong. There are good things with being scared. Sometimes being shy and timid does pan out. It's your personality. You're always fearful. You're scared. You're the type of person that, yes, I'm taking this leap of faith, but at the same time, I have a bungee cord just in case I have to try to jump back. Like, you're not going into this blind. But there are times when you have to. But fear is just something that we deal with. It is a part of our everyday lives. You can't expect a firefighter to be 100% brave charging into a burning building. They're fearful of a lot of stuff. Believe me, I was a volunteer firefighter for years. They're fearful of a lot. They are fearful that the building could collapse. Their oxygen tank could run out. The fire could consume them, even though they have their turnout gear on. That the person they're going inside to rescue may already be dead. That they may not be able to get that person out alive. There are so many fears that go through their head, but yet they charge in. They're an example of how they take that fear and turn it into adrenaline. Whenever it comes to adrenaline, there's always the fight and flight response, but there's always freeze. There's 3 F's to it. There's fight, which means you will use your adrenaline to propel you to do supernatural feats. Basically, figure it this way. There's a mom that has to save her child from a car. The car's crushing the child, and the mom summons superhuman strength that's able to lift said car. And this is a mom that an hour ago could not open a pickle jar to save her life. She's now lifting this car that weighs 5 times she does. And she's doing it to save her kid. That's the fight response. Because she's using the adrenaline from her fear, the fear of losing her child, to propel herself. When it comes to flight, means you want to run. You're taking your adrenaline and you're using it to get as fast as you can away from the situation. And then there's freeze, where you just completely don't know what to do. And that is sadly what a lot of people do. But fear is something that everybody has to deal with. I deal with it every day. And I do. I get scared of a lot of stuff. I'm terrified of heights. I always have been. And I always will be. I'm terrified of messing up again. Because I had that already. I know what it feels like. And it terrified me then. And it terrifies me now that it could happen again. I'm terrified that something could disrupt what pleasant life I have. There's a lot of things that terrify me. There's a lot of things that I am scared of. I'm not perfect in any way, shape, or form. No one is. And if anybody ever says they're perfect, they're full of it. Because no one's perfect. We all have fears. We all have dirty laundry. We all have skeletons in our closet. Just remember, even though we all have dirty laundry that we don't ever show, it eventually has to be aired out because our dryers are going to break. And we'll have to air out our dirty laundry. So you're going to see it one way or another. The problem is that a lot of people online are seen as a huge, like, nothing can ever get to them. Nothing can bother them. I guarantee you, if I would come out here and say, I am the A, B, and C, and for years, you would have thought that I would have been D, E, or F. It's going to be blowing your mind. That's why it's always great to be in freaking traffic. That's why it's always nice to at least have transparency, which is something that I will always do with all of my channels, all of my posts on my Twitter, on DeviantArt. It's all transparent. If I'm having a bad day, I will come out and say I'm having a bad day. If shit in my life starts going to pot, I'll come out and explain that. Because I know what fear is. I felt it. There are people that don't ever really know what fear is for them. And truly, that is terrifying. But at the same time, it's just weird. But in a good way. But fear is still fear. Whether you're scared of it or not, it's still fear. So, that's that. Bye, everybody. Till next time.